Hi, I'm Anthony Mangano, and welcome to City of Churches. Today we're taking a look back. Today we're going to take a look back at some of the highlights of the past places we visited and a look behind the scenes at City of Churches. Every church we visit contains special and unique artifacts. And when I look around, my biggest thing is stained glass windows. I always talk about this on the show. I never really looked at them until I came in. They're actually beautiful. I don't know if you know where they came from.
There's a lot of stories about the construction of St. Thomas that I have been told by many parishioners that the stained glass windows were not original. They were not built here. They were not made for St. Thomas. That they came from another church that was demolished when they were constructing the BQE. So there were a lot of those churches where, these windows are very likely from the 1800s, and they don't really look like 1930s stained glass windows.
Now, your front window, that's the rose?
That would have been the rose window, and the rose window when they had done the renovations in the 60s, and they took out the rose window as well, and they put a representation of St. Thomas Aquinas up there, but it's a much more modern looking.
Yeah, you can see the difference between that.
Yeah, it doesn't really fit it's probably a 100-year difference in between the two windows.
I don't know why, and I found it in the garage. And when I renovated outside for the 75th, I put that outside next to the 911 memorial and the time capsule that we buried on the 75th, and I put the bell there, saying that this bell is the original bell of the church, of the basement church of Mary Queen of Heaven.
And this is all redone.
Yes,
too,
we did all the gardens.
I like that you have a crucifix right in the middle. I knew how to design that. I know you. I know you. And if you were at a Muncie, you'd be one heck of a contractor, I'll tell you. Now, this is in memory of 9/11.
9/11, we put this up here, and after September 11, with the bell, with the original bell.
That's the bell you were talking about.
Yes.
That was in the tower.
Right.
Now, that's the time capsule?
That's the time capsule that we buried on the 75th anniversary in 2002. And we put a lot of old photos and the records of the marriages and the baptisms, the graduation classes, and all that took place here in the parish.
This is really a nice thing that you did here. And as we're walking, I'm looking just at it from this point of view. And that's the
Mary Queen of Heaven statue, yes. Statue of Our Lady.
It looks beautiful.
Yes.
Crucifix right on top. It really looks really, and the statue of Our Lady.
Yes, Mary Queen of Heaven.
And that survived during the fire?
Yes, that survived. And of course, when I got here, I fixed the whole facade outside, and I raised up the steeple a little bit so that you can see the statue of Mary, had it painted and redone, and we fixed that up.
It's beautiful. It really does. A church in the basement. That's what I'm saying. Each church has a story, and this one has a great story.
Yes.
This caught my eye from the pulpit. This is amazing, utterly amazing. This is all hand carved?
Yeah, all is good, and it is decorated with the 4 evangelists, the writer of the Gospel of the Lord.
Father, there's a lot of wood carvings around this church. The pulpit is very decorative, and the Station of the Cross. Were they the original ones that were here?
Yeah, they are original, and they are a treasure for this church because each one was carved by hand.
These were carved by hand?
Yes.
That's what I always say, that the art form and how these sculptors and painters, they put so much into it. And today I guess you can fabricate it, but it's never the same as what they did. One Station of the Cross, God only knows how much time it took to make that in such detail.
Yeah, sure.
Your Stations of the Cross, I've never seen anything like it. They look like they were steel doors that somebody took, and I think they probably were, and the artist created that. They're really larger than life. They're taller than me, taller than you.
Yep. The Stations of the Cross really do have a very interesting story. People either love them or hate them in this parish. There's probably a few more that hate them than love them.
Really?
because they're very unique. They're certainly unique. I don't think you'll find any other church
No, I've
in
never seen
Brooklyn that has them. They were created by an artist, Jordi Bonet, and Jordi Bonet apparently had a very brief moment in time where he was very popular in creating sacred and liturgical arts, and this was in the late 60s. He died very young. He died when he only had one arm, which is probably the best story. He lost his right arm as a child.
Wow.
He only did it with his left arm, and that was his history, that he began drawing to kind of help the dexterity in his left arm, since he had lost his right arm as a child, and that's how he came to art.
That alone, the human spirit,
It's a great story.
To drive the will to do something alone is amazing right there. You know, your steeple, which is definitely different. I've been a few of them. You know, it's a Sacred Heart St. Stephen's. I climbed up that thing with the crew. They were all there. That was a little nerve-wracking.
Yes, it's almost like an octagon. It has 8 sides. The original bell of the church is, the bells are still in there.
Do they ring?
No, they don't. They haven't, rung for years. But the thing is, they don't work, and it'd be very hard to restore them as well. But we did not remove them because in the renovation of the church, we discovered that the bell tower itself was a little crooked and it was unstable. So we had this big debate whether to try to stabilize it or remove it. And you couldn't remove the steeple because the church wouldn't look like a church without it. So we did decide to restore it, but the structural engineers said that the weight of the bells would keep the bell tower sturdy, and it would enforce it even more. So the bells are in there, and they're stabilizing the tower as well as the front of the church.
I'm looking at your Stations of the Cross, and I was making a comment before. They're not huge, but they're so lifelike.
Yes.
Kind of like an animation that came to life. The detail.
They're very alive.
Yes.
I believe, I don't know the history totally, I believe, though, those Stations of the Cross were added when Bishop Caggiano was the pastor here of St. Dominic for 4 years, and I believe he added those Stations of the Cross because of the drama in them.
I see a lot of statues in here. Can you explain about that? Yeah,
Sure.
I actually lit 2 candles in there.
Well, the Saints Chapel, as we call it, is very famous in Brooklyn because many people come. What happened was when, as I said, they tore down the second church, there were many statues in that church. So they took all those statues and they put them into one room. And that's why we have the shrine room with all the statues. And then over the years, we have acquired different statues. With the Italians, they have a great devotion. Every town has a patron saint.
Sure.
So when many of the people came from Italy, from their towns, they came here with the tradition of the feast of their town and their saint. And when people come, especially during the feast, they come in and they look at all the saints. And I always say, if you can name all the saints, you win a prize.
That's good. I couldn't. I'd probably lose.
Of course, my favorite, St. Joseph, which is right next to the altar. And then right over in the corner, we have a Marian shrine, which is a beautiful place. I think that's probably one of the favorite places here in the parish. Everybody comes and goes to the shrine to pray at Mary and to be there with her. And in fact, when you go in there, you'll see that her hands are falling apart by the amount of people that have touched her over the years. And there's a story or a legend that says that Monsignor Callahan never wanted to replace the hands because he felt that that was people's devotion and love for Mary over the years. And so when you go there, you see all the hands are kind of missing or pieces, and it's been kind of worn over the last 50 years.
I'm looking around, and I'm going to get to a couple of things. There's a lot of statues in here. You know, I've seen it.
Right.
And can you tell our viewers about?
That's the statue in the corner there of Addolorata, which means Our Lady of Sorrows.
Okay.
And that is from a town called Mola di Bari. You go outside, you see the different statues of St. Nicholas, and you'll see the different towns that have representation. Every town in Italy still has a patron saint, and the people come out in large numbers to honor their patron saint. And once a year, there's a big feast, usually of each of these saints, and they bring the statue to the church. They have a procession outside. We still have many, many processions. The Italian population is not the same, but there's still many people. It's interesting because now, if you notice in the lobby, there's also a Spanish title of the Blessed Mother, Our Lady of Nube. And it's right here, and it's very different. But it's good to see the blend. It's good to see the blend of the Italian history and now the new history of the Hispanics in the parish, bringing their patron saints to the church and marching in procession with them.
That's nice. That's really nice. The statues that you have in there, were they the original ones?
There were maybe one or two that are original to the church, but over the years, many of them have been changed. I mean, there's a few from 1914 when the Lithuanians came in, but you know, there are maybe one or two in there. Now, this is where we put all the statues, so she's out of the way.
Look at this.
Anna's not here today, but as you can see, first she washes them down. Then she starts to plaster all the cracks, and then one by one, she'll restore them. And she does a wonderful thing with the eyes. She loves to put the eyes and to really highlight the eyes so that they pop. And when you look at a statue and you're praying, when you see the eyes, it's like they speak to you. I mean, it's unbelievable.
It's like
she
the
does a
statue
great
comes
job.
alive.
Yes.
You know, no two church buildings are alike. We visited a lot of them, and we've learned that just by visiting them and seeing that. Today we're in Bensonhurst, Brooklyn, to discover something very extraordinary about St. Dominic's Church. Today we're in Marine Park, Brooklyn, to visit St. Columba's Church. Today we're in East Williamsburg, Brooklyn, to visit the Most Holy Trinity Church. And this week on City of Churches, we're visiting St. Thomas Aquinas. We're in Mill Basin, Brooklyn, to visit the Church of Mary, Queen of Heaven. Today we have a very special episode for you. Now, it's the story of a small country church called Our Lady of Fatima. Today we're in Williamsburg, Brooklyn, to visit the shrine of Our Lady of Mount Carmel. Today we're in Brooklyn to visit the Annunciation Church, and as you can see, it's under renovations. Here are some of our favorite moments from City of Churches. You know, not too far from St. Thomas Aquinas Church is Floyd Bennett Field, and it's New York City's first municipal airport, and it's located on the shore of Jamaica Bay. This was one of the first two airports in New York City and began operating in 1928. A lot of aviation records were set here. Did you know that during World War II, Floyd Bennett Field became the busiest naval air station in the USA? Planes had to constantly fly in and out of here on a specific flight path. Now, did you know that there's a connection between that flight path and St. Thomas Aquinas Church? We're going to discuss that later on in the show.
So this is the building we're currently in, and it had a 150-foot tower on the front.
Look at that. Can you see that?
And this was finished in 1931. Now, the interesting thing, apparently, when it was built during the middle of the Great Depression. So that 150-foot tower, by the time World War II approached, was actually, and here's a picture from the 1940s, the tower actually got sheared off.
Wow.
One of the reasons being that we're down the block from Floyd Bennett Field, and during World War II, they would land fighter planes down Flatbush Avenue.
The airport still, I mean, the airport exists, but nobody's landing anymore.
But when they were landing fighter planes down there, they were saying it was in the flight path, so it had to be taken down halfway. Also, there were already construction issues. This is only 10 years after it was built.
After it was built, somebody cut corners there.
And then by the 1960s, the entire tower and the whole front of this church was removed, the rose window, and then it was after Vatican II, so they started to modernize the church.
Well, I mean, you're showing pictures of the old church.
And that's the old church in the foreground.
We had a number of activities during the anniversary year for the children. We had a great feast last June to open the anniversary year. There's always activity in the gym.
And I saw the bingo, we were making reference to that.
We have bingo 2 days a week.
My favorite event was Ice Cream Sunday.
We're having that again.
Wow, that's a good one.
It's Sunday ice cream for all the kids.
That's coming up in a couple of weeks. But there's always something happening here. Many organizations, the Ladies Guild, the Golden Age Society, the youth program, the sports program is renowned.
Still staying strong from when I was a kid.
Yeah.
I remember I played baseball for St. Columba. You know, we played. My brothers played too. We played Marine Park.
We have a wonderful mass with the bishop. Then we come out, we lift the Giglio for 4 or 5 hours. Then the feast is open until midnight. There's a lot going on here.
It's not that simple. This is not just put together in a day. I'm beginning to understand that. This is amazing.
Where's Angelo? He's all around.
Angelo, I don't know.
Where is he? So what do you do? Who's in charge here tonight? Vinny, you're the boss. I can hear you from across the street.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Father. I love you.
This is the
vault?
Yeah, the crypt are here and downstairs.
Okay, you go first. I'll follow
Okay,
you.
thank you.
Wow.
Take care.
I'm right behind you, Father.
Okay.
So, wow, we're going down to like the basement here.
Yeah, this is a reserved area. No people come here.
Wow.
Here
Wow,
are
there's a
the
gate
crypts.
and all too. Oh, wow, okay. Oh, so this is where the crypts are.
Yeah,
So these are the two.
the two first pastors, Father John Stephen, who died in 1861, and Father Michael May, who died in 1895. So originally, Father John Stephen, so he was buried in the local cemetery, and after Father Michael died, his remains was bring here and to repose in the same place both.
You know, we've been to a few churches and I've seen crypts like this. The original St. Patrick's Church in Mulberry Street has one downstairs too. I always find it amazing that the remains are here. Well, it's a nice tribute to the two founding fathers, you know, of this church, the two pastors. It's really nice that they pay tribute like that. Well, after you, sir,
Okay,
as we
thank you.
go on the rest of the tour of Most Holy Trinity Church.
Yeah, that's it.
That's a replica of the Holy Spirit that's above the altar at St. Peter's. And I had it suspended above the altar as a reminder, not only to me, but to the parishioners, that the Mass is not only action of Christ, it's the action of the Holy Spirit. Christ offering himself again to the Father in the Holy Spirit. At every Mass, there's what's called an epiclesis, when the priest calls down the power of the Holy Spirit in conjunction with Christ's words to change that bread and wine into Christ's sacred body and blood. So with Deacon Fred's permission, that I think is a great catechetical tool for us to understand what the Mass truly is. So that has a real place in my heart.
It's beautiful.
But the part that's very devotional, I would say, is the statue and the relic of Padre Pio. Padre Pio has a tremendous, tremendous cross-the-line devotion in so many different cultures. And Padre Pio had brought people here constantly. Padre Pio is a tremendously important saint for the Italians, but also for the Spanish and for other people. So I would say, in my mind, that would be a treasure. There's a Padre Pio prayer group. There's a Padre Pio Mass every once a month in Italian. It's a great devotion in this parish.
I'd like for you to talk to our viewers about the outreach program.
The strength of a church, to me, is the outreach a parish does. And St. Dominic's has a tremendous strength because it has a tremendous outreach. The thing that's very unique is what they call the midnight run. Vinny and a few other people go to the city with hot food, clothing, and stop at different spots in the city and bring food and clothing to the homeless in the city. They do it all night. They leave here maybe 10 o'clock and they get home 4 o'clock in the morning.
And we're going to be going out on a bus later with a lot of food and a lot of things to give out. And they're down here, they're actually preparing sandwiches that we're going to go out later and hand out to the poor and the homeless. It's very, very, very special. This is like a really different kind of city of churches for me. I have to tell you, it's been very eye-opening. I can't even say the word sometimes because, it's a whole misconception. Honestly, I mean, you don't realize how a lot of these people's lives have been affected through some crazy thing in life. You know, it could have been anything that could have triggered a person to be at a point where they're on the street and they're homeless and they need things. They need food, they need shelter, and you know, there but for the grace of God go I. I don't know how else to put it, but I think that I hope you as viewers are watching this get to see this and maybe get involved a little bit, you know, being good Catholics, good people, and trying to donate some clothes and food or anything that could go out and help people out there, because that's what we're supposed to do. So I'll see you next time, okay? Thanks for watching City of Churches.
Hi, I'm Anthony Mangano, and welcome to City of Churches. Now, this was New York's first municipal airport, and it's situated along the... Had it up to that point. Okay. And it's situated along the shore of Jamaica Bay. One more time. Well, that's our show for today. I sure hope you had a nice trip down memory lane. I sure did. Now, look, like I always say, if you have any questions about our show, our episodes, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter or netnewyork.tv, or you can write into us at City of Churches, 1712 10th Avenue, Brooklyn, New York, 11215. Until the next time, I'm Anthony Mangano. Thank you so much for watching our show, and God bless you.